The world of Trigun is one of catastrophe and destruction. On the cursed planet known as No Man's Land or Gunsmoke, mere survival is a supernatural act. Thus, it's only natural that a bunch of extremely powerful individuals have come to call this place home. We'll be diving deep into this 90s gem to classify its characters into tiers based on their skill set and power levels. This space western epic, written and illustrated by Yasuhiro Naitao, is clear evidence that they just don't make them like this anymore. But before we move into the juicy bits, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. With that out of the way, it's time to load up your 6-shooters because this town ain't big enough for, well, all of these characters. S tier, Vash the Stampede. Well, there's no way anyone other than everyone's favorite natural calamity could ever occupy this top spot. Vash is the protagonist of this space adventure and sits at the very top of the food chain for a bunch of reasons, the most important being that he's not really human. Instead, he's an interdimensional being capable of generating unimaginable power and energy. These creatures, known as plants, appear perfectly human but are essentially immortal powerhouses capable of causing large-scale destruction at a moment's notice. Though these plants were originally invented by humans as power sources, they've evolved into something much more independent. It's assumed that Vash and his twin brother, Million's Knives, were born from the plants powering a seed's ship. They were found by Rem Savaram, who raised the two infants into children. Interestingly, the kids grew up at an exponential rate and basically stopped aging after attaining their physical prime. These independent plants are nigh immortal, and Vash himself is more than 130 years old at the beginning of the story. Vash's superhuman physiology also provides him with sensory perception sensitive enough to predict bullet trajectories. This makes him an excellent marksman, capable of taking down multiple attackers even in the worst of circumstances. As an organic generator, Vash can also transform his body to a limited extent, which enhances his combat abilities. Vash can basically generate large amounts of energy within his body and then use it efficiently for a variety of purposes, like healing. Vash also exhibits a variety of angel powers, which often manifest in the form of narrow ribbon blades that can be used for both offense and defense. These blades possess incredible destructive power, as we saw during Vash's final battle with Legato Blue Summers, where the human Typhoon was able to create a fully automatic defensive blade. When this attack is activated, whoever enters Vash's range will be cut down without him even having to direct it. While using his angel abilities, Vash can also create black hole bullets by materializing bullets into empty shells. When shot, these turn into mini black holes with diameters of about a few meters, consuming everything around them for several seconds. However, the most powerful weapon in Vash's vast arsenal is his terrifying angel arm. It's activated by using a catalyst within Vash's revolver, which turns his right arm into a weapon powerful enough to destroy cities, as we saw during the horrifying incident in July City. This arm is a natural feature of an independent plant's body, which can be manipulated into various forms for maximum destruction. When your opponent can shoot a hole through a moon, one should just give up the bounty, to be honest. Throughout the series, Vash manages to gain better control of this devastating weapon, eventually learning to infuse the arm's singularity-inducing capabilities into bullets to create the aforementioned black hole shots. Despite his expertise, the Angel's arm still puts a lot of stress on Vash's body, causing his hair to grow darker with every single use. Though the arm does seem to have its flaws, one still can't deny its awe-inspiring power, which makes Vash one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. I guess he does deserve that outrageous bounty of 60 billion double dollars. Million's Knives. We know it's sort of a cliche, but Vash and Knives are literally two sides of the same coin. The two twins were born from the same seed's ship plant and are the two strongest creatures the world of Trigun has ever known. Though the two twins were quite alike as kids, Knives always possessed a keen interest in learning more about humans. However, his opinion of humanity changed drastically when the twins discovered the abused remains of Tesla, an independent plant that had been their predecessor. The humans had torn Tesla apart in an attempt to study the source of the plant's incredible power. However, the terrifying sight left a deep scar on the young boy's psyche. Knives developed a deep mistrust of humans, and he even began affecting pain on himself after witnessing Tesla's situation. In the anime, Knives' resentment towards humans is further aggravated when a new crew member, Steve, begins abusing him. It was during this time that Knives' genocidal philosophy began to take root, and he slowly grew into a ruthless, sociopathic, and intimidating leader. Knives' ultimate goal is complete human genocide, as he's a firm believer in the idea of plant supremacy supremacy and has even managed to attract a plant-worshipping cult dedicated to himself. It was also Knives who altered the trajectory of the Seed's carrier ships to crash them. Though Rem Savarim managed to stop a total disaster, the trajectory alteration did leave the twins stranded on the desolate planet of No Man's Land. With time, Knives gained the same superhuman physiology and abilities as Vash, but it's his unrelenting and violent nature that makes him such an incredible threat. Just like Vash, Knives has an extended lifespan and can summon wings made of blades to fly on. Knives also seems to have a better understanding of his angelic power, at least at the beginning of the story, as he seems to have more control over his weapons like angel arms. Knives also exhibits great expertise in telepathy and can use their power to psychologically manipulate other plants. At one point, he almost made another plant self-combust, which is a testament to how strong his hold can be. Most of Knives' powers manifest as an array of monomolecular wire or extremely sharp blades that can attack his opponents at blinding speed. He can also increase his power output by merging with other plants and utilizing their power source. Due to this, the parts of the absorbed plants often protrude from Knives' body, making him appear like a grotesque monstrosity. Despite Knives' unimaginable strength, it's been noted that his gate, or the source of his power, is less potent than his brother's. Still, we wouldn't want to go up against this guy anytime soon. A tier, Legato Bluesummers. Legato Bluesummer proves that one doesn't always need to be an immortal techno-organic being to be a warrior. This antagonist, who's made it his life's mission to inflict endless pain and suffering upon Vash, is thoroughly devoted to Knives as his master and savior. The reason for Legato's strange infatuation with Knives lies in his horrific past. Raised as a nameless sex slave in a dilapidated city, Legato was doomed from the beginning. While in captivity, the young boy began weaving metal threads into his brain, which could allow him to take complete control of other bodies. However, before he could completely master that ability, he was captured. However, Knives managed to pass by the city at that very moment and blew the whole damn place to bits. The destruction of the city saved Legato from a fate worse than death, and since then, he's been at Knives' side as one of his closest aides. It was Legato who found the heavily wounded Knives in the ruins of July City. This was also when he saw Vash in the distance and swore revenge against him. Though Legato is a normal human, he's still incredibly skilled at telepathic and psychokinetic manipulation. The first time Legato demonstrated this ability, he literally made a man tear out his own heart and force the other gang members to shoot each other. However, what makes Legato so incredibly dangerous is the cold and calculated manner in which he employs his powers, often breaking down his enemies psychologically before landing even a single blow. The source of Legato's powers is somewhat debatable though, as in the anime he's provided these powers by Knives, while in the manga these powers are the result of his brain implants. Whatever the reason, you can't deny that Legato has earned himself a spot in the A tier. Elenir the Crimson Nail. Next, we have Elenir the Crimson Nail, another one of Knives' aides who makes an appearance in both Trigun Stampede and Trigun Maximum. Just like Legato, Elenir is completely devoted to Knives' goal of total human annihilation. She also seems to envy Legato for his close relationship with Knives, often becoming extremely competitive while exhibiting her loyalty. She's widely considered to be the strongest of the gung-ho guns despite her delicate and slight stature. She first makes an appearance in Volume 5 of the manga, where Wolfwood refers to her as the Lost Number 13. Elenir is an excellent marksman who uses a giant briefcase that transforms into a crossbow as her weapon. As her name indicates, this crossbow actually fires giant crimson nails, which are projected at a speed and force that basically breaks conventional physics. She's also an extremely skilled illusionist, often creating destructive visions to psychologically break her prey. As the strongest gun, she's believed to be the only one in the crew powerful enough to stand up to Legato. However, she's also extremely envious that she hasn't been assigned a number like the other members of the gung-ho guns. In the manga's final chapters, she proves extremely essential to Knives' plan and agrees to travel ahead in order to gain control over humanity's nuclear arsenal. Though she doesn't play a major part in the original 90s anime, she finally appeared on screen in the 2023 adaptation, and to be honest, we can't wait to see the true extent of her powers. Nicholas D. Wolfwood. For a man nicknamed the Punisher, Nicholas D. Wolfwood is far too likable. Though he considers himself to be a man of God, he's not really the pious type. Instead, he's a trigger-happy gunman who doesn't really believe in the vow "thou shalt not kill" taken by Vash. Despite being a hedonistic douchebag with a taste for the finer things, this charming outlaw has become one of the most popular characters from the world of Trigun. Wolfwood's entire personality is a study in contradiction, as he's a morally broken man trying to do the right thing. But in a place like No Man's Land, that isn't really that easy to achieve. Wolfwood has a firm belief that humans are forced to transform into devils because they aren't as powerful as gods. Due to this twisted philosophy, Nicholas is certain that neither he nor his enemies deserve redemption, which makes it fairly easy for him to take other people's lives. Though he might appear to be a cold-blooded killer at first glance, he's actually a man consumed by guilt who just wants to protect the innocent. His weapon, the Punisher Cross, is a manifestation of his own sins, which he is forced to drag around as a reminder of his crimes. Though he's just a normal human, Nicholas's body has still been trained and honed to become the ideal weapon. He was raised in an orphanage outside of December City, but was eventually adopted by the mysterious cult Eye of Michael during his teenage years. As a part of the cult, he had several genetic modifications performed on his body, which provided him with superhuman physical attributes. Moreover, he was provided with rigorous training that allowed him to become a merciless killer within the ranks of the organization. It was here that he first earned the nickname the Punisher as a result of showing exceptional potential. But the young mercenary would go on to defect from the group after the murder of his mentor, Chapel. Wolfwood is widely considered to be one of the best gunmen in No Man's Land. His Punisher's Cross, which houses machine guns, pistols, and a rocket launcher, is the perfect weapon for this prolific gunman who just can't stop himself from blowing stuff up. In addition to this, he also possesses automated healing, divine sensory abilities, and an advanced muscle mass through the experiments he had undergone as a child. The only real disadvantage to Wolfwood's incredible abilities is the fact that he ages way faster than a normal human being. It's not that bad a deal, to be honest. Livio the Double Fang / Razlo the Tri-Punisher of Death. Similar to Nicholas Wolfwood, Livio the Double Fang was a disciple of Chapel, the man who led Eye of Michael. Due to this, Livio has also received numerous modifications to his body, which provide him with enhanced muscle strength, senses, and nearly indestructible bones. We've seen him casually lift around 150 kilograms, and that's just the beginning of his spectacular abilities. His increased agility and dexterity makes him fast enough to catch rocks out of the air and throw them back. His regenerative abilities also far surpass any normal humans and even Wolfwood's. He's also known to carry around a secret dose that allows him to recover from greater injuries that prove too much for his healing ability. But what makes Livio a real threat isn't his physical skill, but his fractured state of mind. As a person suffering from dissociative identity disorder, Livio has already created his own alter ego, known as Razlo, the Tri-Punisher of Death, who is even considered to be a separate member of the Gung Ho Guns, given his ferocious strength. As a child, Livio was subjected to regular abuse at the hands of his parents. To deal with the pain, young Livio unwittingly created Razlo so that he could absorb all the abuse and torment. Over time, Razlo would gain more and more power inside Livio, often appearing when the latter is faced with intense trauma. This alter ego would then commit unspeakable violence against the people who had caused Livio harm. Throughout the series, it was heavily implied that it was Razlo who stabbed Livio's parents to death. Eventually, Razlo would end up leading Livio to the Eye of Michael. The modifications made to Livio's body would become an even greater threat when under Razlo's control, as he's way more bloodthirsty than his host. Fond of charging recklessly into battle and risking his own body, Razlo is definitely not someone who can be reasoned with. B tier, Mid-Valley the Horn Freak. The 11th Gun Ho Guns member and a talented jazz musician, Mid-Valley is probably the classiest assassin we've ever met. This guy has been killing for basically his entire life. He started with a group of musicians who also functioned as hired killers. One day, after a particularly nasty massacre at a bar where they killed way more people than they were supposed to, Mid-Valley and his gang were approached by a mysterious figure. This was none other than Knives, who proclaimed that he was impressed by their violent ways. The other members of the gang paid no heed to this stranger and tried to kill him for witnessing their crimes. But as you can probably expect, it was Knives who gained the upper hand and slaughtered the entire gang within seconds. The only survivor was Mid-Valley, who'd been cautious of Knives from the very beginning. This perceptive nature is what makes Mid-Valley such a threat on the battlefield. His chosen weapon is the saxophone Sylvia. As a skilled musician, he can synchronize the instrument's frequencies with the pain receptors in the human body, leading to unbearable pain and even death. He can also use the saxophone to neutralize other sounds by playing counter frequencies, which allows him to create absolute silence. He's also been blessed with almost supernatural hearing, sensitive enough to determine a blade's thickness through the sound of the wind passing through a cut it had made. Though he has a knack for using sonic attacks, Mid-Valley is also a skilled gunman capable of hitting his mark from great distances. Though Mid-Valley's abilities can be compromised whenever the saxophone suffers damage, which we saw during his encounter with Wolfwood, Mid-Valley is still one terrifying individual. Gray the Nine Lives. This human-cyborg hybrid probably has one of the most intimidating designs in the entire anime. Gray the Nine Lives is a giant individual standing at a height of 7'5". Even a single glance at this humanoid cyborg will alert you to the fact that he's not all there. We first catch a glimpse of him when he's sent to attack Vash's home along with Leon the Puppet Master. He's often seen as the physically strong member of the Gung-Ho Guns due to his unnatural strength and extremely resilient armor. Gray seems to be a peculiar amalgamation of metal and flesh, with weapons protruding from almost every part of his body. He possesses 2 large hand cannons which can fire explosive cannonballs at the enemy. The weapons can also be used as armored boxing gloves for close quarter combat. However, the most intriguing fact about Gray is not his giant stature or destructive weapons, but the 9 lives he's said to possess. It's eventually revealed that Gray is but a robotic suit being manned by 9 dwarf drivers who are controlling giants from the inside. These drivers are extremely well protected inside Gray's body and can even detach from the main body if the situation arises. Thus, to completely defeat Gray, one must first kill all 9 dwarves. Defeating a giant hunk of flesh and metal once is one thing, but doing it 9 times has to be a little tiring. Also, keep in mind that these dwarves aren't easy to take on either, as every single one of them is a fierce and violent opponent, even individually. Money the Gale. Money is one of the strongest members of the Gung-Ho Guns who trained and raised with one specific purpose: to defeat Vash the Stampede. Though not much is known about his past, we do know that he was locked in a cell for about 20 years by Million's Knives. Knives wanted Money to undergo rigorous training inside the cell to one day defeat Vash. Money's destructive capabilities are further enhanced by his superpowered battlesuit that holds 2 high-powered chain guns on the arms. These guns fire at an astounding pace thanks to the unique pressure chambers mounted on Money's back. This provides the rounds with unparalleled stopping power, which proves enough to tear through entire buildings in a single go. In addition to the guns in his arms, Money also carries a vast range of different weapons in his big rucksack. These additional weapons include a gigantic minigun, which once punched a hole through a highly secure bank vault. Money is an exceedingly violent and brutal individual who exhibits no remorse or guilt. He seems to enjoy the violence he wreaks and is easily one of the most sadistic personalities in the show. However, once he's cornered by Vash, Money exposes a new, extremely cowardly facet of his personality, which is so satisfying to see after all his terrible acts. Ride the Blade. Ride is the 9th member of the infamous Gung-Ho Guns and is the 4th to challenge Vash throughout the story. Unlike most of the other characters, Ride isn't a gunman. Instead, he prefers to settle things at close range with his incredibly reliable and deadly katanas. A self-proclaimed master of Jigensan Ito, Ride considers himself to be the strongest swordsman on the planet. He relies heavily upon his ability to evade the opponent, only to crush him afterwards. Other than the swords, Ride also carries a plethora of special weapons that can grant him advantages in battle, like special swords that create vibrant waves and can go through walls, and roller skates that greatly enhance his speed and mobility. Due to Ride's unparalleled agility, he far surpasses all other members of the Gung-Ho Guns, at least in terms of speed. This unyielding samurai's most impressive quality, however, has to be his fearlessness in the face of certain death, as it's his life's goal to seek the knowledge that can only be attained while encountering death. Dominique the Cyclops. Dominique is another member of the Gung-Ho Guns assigned to kill Vash. She's undoubtedly one of the trickiest members of the gang, capable of posing a considerable threat due to the strangeness of her demon eye technique. This ocular technique is contained in her right eye, which is usually covered by a metal eye patch. The eye allows Dominique to induce hypnosis and sensory paralysis in her foes, which stuns them completely, making her movements appear instantaneous. Even Vash himself was confused by this strange move when he first encountered it, as Dominique appeared to be moving all over the battlefield without any actual movements. The only way to defeat her is by diverting one's attention away from her or by tracking her movements to predict her next position. Though this isn't as spectacular as many of the powers we've seen throughout this list, the Demon Eye can still be pretty difficult to deal with, especially for the uninitiated. The eye appears reptilian in the manga, while it's shown to be a brilliant red in the anime. C-Tier, Leonov the Puppet Master. This unassuming old man is one of the most seasoned killers among the ranks of the Gung-Ho Guns. The 4th member of the gang, he has a special affinity towards working with deadly life-sized puppets. A heartless and cruel man, he shows a complete disregard for life and considers his weaponized puppets as art. In the manga, it's revealed that his real name was Emilio and he had once met Vash during his early years. After his lover, Isabel, died, Emilio took to the puppets as a means of getting over his grief. However, he grew more and more obsessed with his creations and began to see them as godlike. To control his dangerous puppets, Leonov uses an extremely complicated string system that stretches over 10 kilometers long. These strings are so thin that they can often appear invisible to the human eye. In addition to the puppets, Leonov also utilizes special spheres that can be used to form subtle illusions that can further conceal his puppet strings. Leonov has also been known to create puppets in various forms, ranging from birds to literal monsters. Moreover, he can utilize different parts of different puppets to create giant monsters on the battlefield. Many of his toys have concealed weapons hidden inside of them. Though puppets can seem underwhelming at first, Leonov has gained so much expertise that he can control hundreds of them over a considerable distance. The real limits of Leonov's abilities are still unknown. However, his powers can be nullified by damaging his complicated string system. Kane the Longshot. This mute gunman is definitely one of the most talented assassins to appear in the franchise. Kane is a slim, lanky individual who appears to be completely wrapped in bandages. A cold-blooded murderer, he is never shown to speak in either the manga or the anime. He's an extremely patient man who can wait for hours to ambush his enemies when they least expect it. He also can cloak himself, which makes him nearly undetectable during a battle. Kane's weapon of choice is an oversized rifle with a telescopic barrel, which allows him to hit targets several miles away. For closer encounters, he employs a conventional revolver that we haven't really seen him use much. Due to the large size of Kane's weapon, he cannot move while utilizing it, which makes him easy prey for some of the faster characters in the show. However, we seriously doubt you'll ever see him coming. Hoer Red the Gauntlet. This gung-ho member is the strangest of them all. Hoer Red is a man with deformed vestigial legs who uses his incredibly large arms to move. He's covered completely in nearly impenetrable armor, which can withstand most conventional weaponry. Hoer Red was originally a kind cripple whose friend was killed during the destruction of July City. Due to the incredible strength in his arms, Hoer Red can launch himself at great speed, turning his whole body into something like a living projectile. He can plow through most substances and even possesses a large spiked hammer, which also hides a pistol with it. Despite his awkward size and shape, Hoer Red is capable of unimaginable speed and accuracy. Zazzy the Beast. Zazzy is the name given to an ancient legion of insects that were the very first inhabitants of No Man's Land. Though they initially wanted to live harmoniously with humans, their encounters with knives convinced them that they were more suited to living with plants. Zazzy is said to be the leader of the insects, with all of them ready to do his bidding. Zazzy can use his insects in a variety of ways, including offensively, defensively, and for reconnaissance. Chapel the Evergreen. Chapel is an anime-only character who raised Nicholas D. Wolfwood during the priest's teenage years. An extremely dogmatic person, he carries a Punisher's cross similar to Wolfwood's. However, Chapel's cross splits into 2 machine guns that can fire at great speed. It's also likely that he received physical modifications just like a student, which provided him with extraordinary physical attributes like enhanced healing and superhuman strength. D tier. E.G. Mine. The second gung-ho member to challenge Vash, this outlaw appears to be wearing a spiked suit in the form of a sphere around his body. He can fire these spikes by pulling different threads connected to the sphere, allowing him to drown his enemies in an endless barrage of projectiles. Merill Strife. Merill is one of Vash's main companions throughout the series. She's a journalist working under the Bernadelli news agency, and during one of the assignments, she's tasked with tracking down Vash the Stampede. Though she doesn't have any special combat skills, she's still a very strong-willed person who can certainly take care of herself. Though she's never fought alongside Vash, she does hide many Derringer pistols under her coat, which she uses with startling precision. Millie Thompson. Millie is easily the most optimistic character in the entire show. Though she's not much of a combatant, she still manages to find a place in Vash's party due to her compassionate nature and kind heart. She's an insurance agent and also functions as an assistant to Merill. Marvelous Verdict. Well, I guess we've finally reached the end of this very long list. It's pretty undeniable that the Trigun series boasts one of the most colorful ensemble casts in all of anime. Regardless of their power levels, each Trigun character is special and kinda broken in their own way. But what do you think? Is there a character that we missed out on, or somebody whose feats we slept on? And who do you consider to be the strongest? Is it Vash, or is it someone else? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. We want to see them, but unfortunately, that's it for today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our marvelous content. Until next time, this is Wizard Wheezy signing off, but thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.